Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
What's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Say it with me, where we talk New Orleans Saints. I really do appreciate your time. It is the first of the month. Wake up, wake up, wake up, get your checks and come up. It's the first of the month, and the Saints got the off day. All right, Thursday is an off day from training camp. The Saints have really been hitting the ground running over the last couple of days. A lot of storylines, a lot of positive stuff. Nothing too much to report that's negative. I mean, but we do have to talk about some of the things that are a tad bit concerning here. That's why we're going to be talking a little bit about some of these injuries that have been taking place at training camp, and should the Saints be concerned? And, the reason why we want to have a show like this is because you got to ask yourself this question. You got to ask yourself, if this is happening right now, what happens when, the season starts? It's very, very concerning. So we're going to be talking about that, and also going to be answering some of your questions and some of your comments. I want to give a special shout out to everybody that's tuning in right now. We're a very interactive podcast. If you're new to the channel, all you have to do is put those comments in the chat.
Hey, what's going on? It's TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast, and we're about to do what it do, baby. You probably have something to say about the black and gold that's burning hard in your soul. Take those fingers, give them the working. Put them comments in the chat.
Put those comments, put them in the chat.
All you gotta do is go ahead and put them things in the chat.
I wanna hear what you gotta say.
I wanna hear from you.
Talk to me and not so bad.
Oh, you ain't gotta worry about it. All you gotta do is talk to me. I talk back to you now.
Put those comments, put them in the chat.
All you gotta do is put them comments in the chat.
I wanna hear what you gotta say.
I wanna hear from you.
Talk to me and not so bad.
Talk to me. I guarantee you, I'm gonna talk right back to you.
Nice.
That's right. All you have to do is put those comments in the chat. And also, to the folk that couldn't make it live, all I gotta say is shouts out to them after show boys.
Shouts out, shouts out, shouts out, shouts out, shouts out to them after show boys. Shouts out, shouts out, shouts out, shouts out, shouts out to them after show boys. They be tweeting and be posting, they be tweeting and be posting, they be tweeting. Yeah, them after show boys. They be tweeting and be posting, they be tweeting and be posting, they be tweeting. Yeah, them after show boys.
Shouts out to all them after show boys, after show girls out there. But let's go ahead and get into it. Over the last couple of days, we've been talking about a lot of things at Saints training camp, a lot of things to get excited about. If you're a Saints fan, Chase Young is ahead of schedule. You look at some of the plays that the wide receivers are making. But on the other hand, you got to take a look at some of the very, very important players for the New Orleans Saints not practicing. Brian Brzee the other day, off to the side. Marshawn Lattimore dealing with the hip flexor. Kendre Miller with the hamstring. Demario Davis with the hamstring. You had Chris Olave. He came down on his hip, but he did practice the following day. But all in all, this is very, very alarming because, I'm looking over the depth chart, especially when I was doing the 32 teams in 32 days on the gumbo pot. And, I know who the real playmakers are. But the issue is I'm wondering to myself, if those guys have to go down for a certain amount of time, who is going to be there and be available? And there's a huge drop off, in my opinion, at some of these positions. Now, there are positions that you can look at and be like, they'll be okay if somebody was to get hurt. Like, for example, if Marshawn Lattimore was to go down, I still feel like you have enough in the secondary to be able to compensate for that. But when you start looking at like Demario Davis with the hamstring, a hamstring is something that you got to kind of be very, very careful with. Messing around with a hamstring could decide like if a player only missed 2 games or they missing 10 or 11 games. So you got to make sure that you're being careful there. And I'm just wondering like where that rotation is going to come from. You know, you talk about Willie Gay, you talk about P. Warner, but, you know, where's the depth when it comes to that? You know, has DeMarco Jackson, has he taken a step forward? Forward? Is he going to be able to be what you need him to be? So I'm just wondering, like, when these guys go down, who's going to pick up the slack? And honestly, if you're not trying to hurt your teammate, you're trying to kind of bring a level of physicality, but you're not trying to simulate what you're going to do to the opposing team. You're not trying to simulate what you're going to do to the Falcons against your homeboy. You know what I'm saying? Like, not your guy. You know what I'm saying? I understand that, you know, everybody on the NFL team, they not friends, right? But at the same time, you understand the importance of that player. So I'm just wondering, like, is this a concern? And I feel like we can get all excited all day and night about where this team can be, which you should, you know, when you see some bright spots. But at the same time, I'm really concerned at the depth of this team if somebody was to go down. So you're basically putting all your eggs in one basket here. And honestly, history has shown us that the Saints over the last 3 to 4 years have had really bad luck when it comes to the injuries. And they really need these guys to be able to step up and be available for them more games than they miss. So I'm just wondering, like, is this a concern? You know, I'll start with Kendre Miller. You know, I did a show a few months ago about bright spots of the Saints and who is going to make that step from year 1 to year 2. And Kendre Miller was the thumbnail that I chose, the picture that I chose, you know, for me to be talking about this subject, because I like the upside. I like the talent. But this is a guy that has been in and out of the lineup. And this is a guy that, you know, even though I feel like the Saints want to give him an opportunity, you know, you got to take advantage of that opportunity. And then you have Jordan Mims, who you signed coming over from the Buffalo Bills. He was an undrafted guy out of Fresno State. He comes over and he shows promise. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't know. You know, like me personally, I still feel like if you're challenging Kendre to be out there and be available, I'm trying to look around this running back room. For the exception of Kamara, he's like the only person that I have like unwavering faith in. I would honestly look, if I am the New Orleans Saints, I would honestly look at, if you're thinking about if Kendre Miller the guy, I'll look at Kareem Hunt. Like, if I'm talking about someone that can actually come in, like Kareem Hunt is out there on the street right now, which it was a complete shock to me. And I know the New Orleans Saints had their eye on Kareem Hunt, but he decided to go somewhere else, you know, after, you know, he talked with the New Orleans Saints. So if you're not excited about Kendre Miller, I ain't seen enough out of Jordan Mims for me to sit up here and say, oh, he going to be okay. And Jamal Williams, I mean, I like him, but he's more like that one-cut guy. So you can't with Kendre can do so many different things. I think a lot of Saints fans just look at him and look at his size and they like, man, he just, you know, one-cut guy. But that's just not the case. Him coming out of TCU, they ran the ball a lot. They didn't really throw the ball out of the backfield. So Max Duggan didn't really dump it off to him as often. They relied on guys like Quentin Johnston when he was there at TCU and some of the other down the field threats. And he was more of that, you know, we're going to hand the ball off to you. But he has really good hands as a running back, for a running back. Like, I know some of y'all seen some of those catches that he made. So to me, if I'm not really satisfied, if I'm not really that sure about this running back room, I mean, why not take a look at Kareem Hunt? Like, he's on the street right now. I mean, you don't get no better talent than that. But that's just my opinion. As far as Demario Davis, we know that he is an Iron Man. We know that he's a tough physical guy. I mean, he's 35 years old. I'm pretty sure the Saints are going to be very, very cautious with him. That also gives these other guys an opportunity to be able to step up and take advantage of some of those opportunities. I don't know if he's going to be back at practice the next time the Saints go out there, but I think you have to be very, very careful when you look at Demario Davis's age, when you look at the fact that you're dealing with a hamstring. You got to be real careful. So it might be one of those moments where you got a player that's going to be able to get some first team reps, and they get an opportunity to take advantage of that. Also, Nick Saldiveri, the guard that more than likely is going to be the Saints starting guard since they decide to move on from Andres Pete. You got Lucas Patrick out there. This guy is someone that you can just look at and be like, he had a lot of starts. He's a veteran guy. He's a guy that you can actually put in there, but I mean, he's not the best guard that you ever seen. He does have like his fair share of issues. So you don't know exactly what you're going to be on the offensive line, for the exception of maybe three players. Tallahassee Fuaga looks like he's the part. Cesar Ruiz, he's looking like he's coming into his own. And, of course, Eric McCoy. But when you look at these players, man, you got to wonder to yourself, the offensive line has already had its fair share of issues. And if you're going to try to go with this rotation with Saldiveri in there, you need him to get as many snaps as possible. I'm not very confident about this offense if we're continuing to see the same rotation and guys being in and out of the lineup. It really doesn't matter what type of offense you bring to the table or what type of coordinator you have. If you don't have the ability to be able to block and guys to be consistently available for you, we're going to be dealing with the same issue. So I'm not saying that that's the case, but I'm a little bit concerned. A lot of calls to pause from me when it comes to, looking at this team and feeling like just because I'm seeing some positive reports, all of a sudden everything is just absolutely gravy. And, I'm very, very cautious about that. I'm very, very cautious about it. I want to see this offensive line thrive, but you got to make sure that these guys have a camaraderie, a chemistry. But you need that when guys are available and being out there for one another. That's how you get that. But let me go ahead and read some of your comments, and we'll go from there. It says, my starters wouldn't play in preseason. I mean, look, I guess you're referring to your Ravens. I wouldn't do it either. And Jules, I got something for you right now on the Gumbo Pie Sports podcast. We're throwing 32 teams in 32 days. Today's focus is on the Baltimore Ravens. So I just finished uploading that video. That's why we was a little bit late. I was trying to do the finishing touches on that editing. Hopefully I edited it right. I was trying to speed through it because I had a couple more things to do. But that's available right now. 32 teams in 32 days on the Baltimore Ravens. Let's see. Haven't heard anything about Jalen Ford yet. He was nice at Texas. Well, look, I'm not expecting to hear anything about him, especially when you have Davis, Werner, and Gay. So you look at these guys. I mean, these are going to be your rotational guys. If you're seeing Ford, you're probably going to see him probably in a special teams capacity if he can actually make the team there. Or you'll probably even start the season on a practice squad. So not expecting really to see him. But when he is in the game, probably in preseason, he's going to get his fair share of snaps. You got to be able to take advantage of it, man. Make it hard for them not to pick you for the final 53. The depth chart is really important. Yeah, I mean, the depth chart is really important. That's why, honestly, you need to make sure that you have the right group of players, and you have to rely on your front office, your scouting team, in order to bring in guys that you can develop and be able to pick up the slack if somebody was to get hurt. And, I think that this is going to be the thing that is going to help the Saints get back into the middle when it comes to the salary cap situation. I just mentioned the Ravens. I talk about them. I talk about the Packers. And I talk about one of the things that they actually do well is they actually draft well. They do really good scouting, and they do a good job at bringing in their players and developing them into their system. And if you look at the Baltimore Ravens, I mean, they pay their players. Like these guys they draft, they pay them. Those are the guys that stay in their system because they grew up in that system. So I think that in order for the Saints to be able to get where they need to be, the front office, the scouting team is going to have to make sure that they're getting the right guys in here. because, guys are going to go down. But, I'm not expecting the same level of production. But at the same time, you need somebody to be able to sit up in there and maybe even give you that diamond in a rough type mind frame about them, right? All they need is an opportunity. They hit it out of the park. We got to find a way to get this guy involved on the offense or the defensive side of football, wherever they land. So, you got to be able to have a really good depth chart. You got to really have a good eye for talent. It's really, really important. You never want a guy to be in your organization and then you allow him to go out the door and he's doing amazing things for another team. What are y'all waiting for? Don't wait till after the show. Smash the like button. Cartel, thank you very much for your support, man. And I agree. I ask that you hit the like button. If you enjoy the State of the Saints podcast, if you enjoy the content, if you enjoy the dedication of the show, I just ask that you hit the like button. And I would really appreciate that. Just want the show to grow. You got a lot of things going against us when it comes to the algorithm. You know what I'm saying? A lot of, individuals, that may talk about this team that may be a little bit more well-known than yours truly. They get first dibs and then your boy come through. But, if you do your part by hitting the like button, we'll be able to get into that upper echelon and be able to talk more Saints football with more individuals. So I'm just asking you to hit the like button. I'm pulling for the Saints this year because y'all have some serious haters, bro. The Saints are going to win the NFC South. Well, Jules, look, I appreciate that. But, I understand why people are reluctant about embracing this New Orleans Saints team, because you have longtime Saints fans that are dedicated to this team that are having reservations about this team, got a wait and see approach about this team. And I mentioned this on the last show that you got to go out here and you got to prove to the masses. You got to prove to the NFL world, to the reporters, to the onlookers that you are worth, the conversation. Like the Saints already have something going against them, which is they're a small market team. And they're not needle movers. They don't look at the New Orleans Saints as needle movers when we're talking mainstream of NFL football. So in order for you to get into that conversation, you win. And then they have no choice but to talk about you. You got to give them something to be able to talk about in order for individuals to sing your praises. It was one thing when the Saints were 13-3, 1-2 seeds, and people were reluctant to embrace them. I would feel like that's unfair. They're looking at it from a rating standpoint because they didn't look at the Saints as being an attractive team to be able to talk about, even though the Saints were talking about because they were winning. But now, what do you think is going to happen that you're not in the playoff conversation? They don't pick you to win the NFC South. They really aren't going to talk about you. So you can't get upset with them because the Saints haven't really did anything for them to garner any type of attention from mainstream right now. This isn't about what you did back in 2018, 2019. It's about what you're doing in 2024. And right now, what we have is a New Orleans Saints team trying to figure it out. So once they figure it out, then we can start having the conversations about having haters. I mean, what would you be hating on the Saints for at this point? I don't know, like loyal, unwavering fans, I guess. I guess that would be it. But as far as anything that they're doing, I don't see any reason why you should hate on them. Let me see. Who is Kendre? He works in the train. Oh, man. Look, man, let's leave the young bull alone, man. Let's try to see if hopefully he can be able to figure it out. Let's hope he can figure it out, man. I ain't going to be too hard on him. Talking about the Saints are the worst football team in the whole entire league. I think that's you be saying that, Jules. Jules telling on himself. Jerry says we got football tonight. Yeah, man, we got football. We got the Houston Texans against the Chicago Bears second and third strings because I don't see C.J. Stroud or I don't see Caleb Williams playing in the game. We might get one series out of Caleb Williams just to try to appease the national audience. But I don't see them boys playing. I don't see them boys playing. Go out there, get hit. And let me say this too, man. A lot of times I feel like teams don't put their starters out there and they be reluctant to put them starters out there because I feel like this. In preseason, if you got a bunch of, let's just say, for example, if every team starters were playing, I think they will understand the assignment. Like, okay, man, we're going to go out here. We're going to be physical, but not like ultra physical, right? Because everybody paid, everybody, you know what I'm saying, living comfortably, you know what I'm saying, belly's full. So cool, right? But you got that other guy that basically, you know, made the team because somebody knew somebody. And now this guy got to go out there and prove it. And he flying all around the field. He willing to sacrifice everything he have in order for him to make this team. And he goes out there, go at your legs, go at your chest. Yo starting $100 million player out for the season because a guy who more than likely probably ain't going to make the team, you know, take him out. I don't know, man. So that's kind of hard to swallow. It's one thing, like, if you're playing against the Tennessee Titans and Jeffrey Simmons, like, tackles you and you get hurt. Like, Jeffrey Simmons is one of the best interior linemen in football. But, you know, if Booger Smith, you know, like North Dakota State nose tackle who basically got on the team because, you know, his daddy was friends with an agent, you know, like, I mean, that's kind of a hard pill to swallow. You know, no disrespect to Booger Smith. I hope he makes the team. There's no Booger Smith, by the way. I just used that name. Just sound like somebody that's stout up front, right? It sounds like somebody that can stop the run. And what a tackle by Booger Smith. Big Booger Smith. Yeah, man. But yeah, hopefully they got a lot of Booger Smiths out there, man, that can end up making the team somewhere. But at the end of the day, man, like it's kind of, I can kind of understand why teams are kind of reluctant to put their starters out there on the field. But yeah, man, shouts out to all the Booger Smiths out there. Us Saints fans are used to the media and everybody else talking down on us because they don't want to see us winning. I don't know if that, look, I feel like this. I don't think it's the fact that they, you know, yeah, I think a part of that is true, but it's not for the reasons that you think, right? Man, the NFL, I don't know if y'all noticed this or not, but the NFL is mostly about nostalgia. It's about like talking about the days of the yesteryear. Y'all know that, you know, the you know, you got the Chris Sable NFL Films type vibe going, you know, dun 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 dun. Y'all know all that, man. They show all these throwback you know, guys and smoke coming up all out their helmet and stuff like that. It's cold and freezing, and you know that player play for the Pittsburgh Steelers and the other player play for the Cowboys. And that's why, like, they try to keep like these nostalgic football teams relevant. But, you know, for better or for worse, that's why even though the Cowboys haven't been to the Super Bowl since 1995, haven't been to the NFC Championship game since 1995, they still demand, you know, them being on prime time every single year. Philadelphia being on prime time, despite what their records are. They try to keep those teams, you know, at the top. And I just feel like it's absolutely ridiculous, in my opinion, when they say, well, that's what people want to talk about. Well, your job as a news person, as a journalist, in my opinion, is to get people excited about talking about certain things. I feel like it's kind of lazy that we always revert back to the basics. Like, you can't say, oh, this was what people want to hear, but you're forcing it down the throats of the masses. If let's just say, for example, if Jacksonville, you know, I always use like Florida teams because, you know, it's a nice little market. You know, if they start winning, people will start getting involved. But let's just say if Jacksonville like was really riding high, right? And you just start talking about quarterback Trevor Lawrence and the season that he's having, and Travis Etienne and Josh Allen on the defensive side of football. You start talking about that constantly. Then people are going to like start having an interest in Jacksonville for two reasons. It's rather the fact that you're an AFC South rival fan, like a Tennessee Titan or Texan fan. You like, man, why are they talking about them, man? Yeah, they having one good year. Then you got the other people on the other side like, man, okay, you know, let's see what these boys can do. And then like, I guess you can also say there's the person that say, man, I can't wait for them boys to lose. That's kind of like what KC is right now, right? Kansas City, that dominant football team right now, you know, won that back-to-back Super Bowls. Now they're the modern day Patriots, the team that everybody want to see get knocked off because they're having too much prosperity. But nobody was really talking about KC like that in a couple of years ago. They kind of basically kicked open the door, put their feet on the table and say, hey, we in this thing. So to me, I love hearing about other teams that I don't know about. Like, I'm tired of hearing about the Cowboys. I'm tired of hearing about the Eagles. I'm tired of hearing about the Steelers. Like, they just recently stopped talking about the Patriots. So it's like, I'm tired of hearing about the same teams. And you can't keep on telling me, oh, this is what people want to hear, because that's not true. People want to hear what is interesting. People want to hear what they feel like is news, right? You're basically forcing it down the throat and you're trying to pop a rating. So that's what it's all about. It's not informing people. It's to make sure Procter and Gamble is satisfied with the numbers when they give you that check for you to run that commercial about Tide and Gain and all these other things that they sell. That's what this is about. It's about ratings at the end of the day. But they try to dress it up and try to make it seem like, oh, it's about importance. No, it's not. Like, the Dallas Cowboys ain't won jack. Like think about this. If it's about importance as they try to make it out to be, right? Why are there more Cowboy segments than Kansas City Chiefs segments? You ever ask yourself that? It's because, they feel like that's going to pop a rating. So, of course, they don't want to talk about the Saints, long story short, folks. They don't want to talk about them because the Saints aren't a larger market team, and the Saints don't have the history of success like some of these older teams have. That your grandma and your great uncle used to be watching on TV and be fans of them for reasons beyond me. Like, ain't never visit Dallas, but you're a Cowboy fan. Okay. That's a good football name, Booger Smith, 1978 Player of the Year. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's that uncle that everybody got that said, boy, if I ain't blow out my knee, boy, man, that boy Warren Sapp, I played him in high school. Man, he ain't do nothing, man. He ain't do nothing. I had more sacks than him. Everybody got an uncle. Everybody got a Booger Smith uncle that always had, was always greater than any other player at his position in the history. And he always got that war story. Boy, high school state championship, boy, you should have seen me. Like, okay, all right. You want your Bush? You want your Milwaukee best? Go, pass me one of them. He got a cigarette bouncing on his mouth. Give me. Man, give me one of them Milwaukee best. Boy, you think you watching something, boy? Let me tell you. Let me tell you what I did in high school. He always had that bouncing cigarette. But yeah, they always had them war stories, man, about how they were just better than everybody else, man. But all in all, look, I know people want to see the star players and in preseason, but I can understand why teams are kind of reluctant to do that. Do you expect the run game to improve? Yeah, I do. I think that you're going to see an improvement in the running game because of the athletic ability of some of these offensive linemen that the Saints have. And I think the wide zone is going to create lanes for them to run through. I mean, you got to have smart, intelligent running backs to be able to run this scheme because they got to be able to find these lanes. And like I said, there's if you're running like a stretch play, let's just say you run a stretch play, you're going to have your blocker, guy blocks it outside, once that he opens up that lane, you run through. But the way the wide zone is structured, man, you have like different lanes you can run through. You have a choice. You can bounce it to the outside. You can take it to the second level. Like, so you got to have like a level of intelligence, like at the running back position to play this. That's why I feel like AK gonna thrive in this. You got to have some really good vision. Like, I feel like the really good running backs with really good vision, they thrive in this. Chase Young, a big dude. Pause. Hey, yo. Yeah, man, he's a big guy, man. He's a big guy, and I like the fact that he's coming on, man. I think he's really taking this season serious. I think that he is a guy that is going to have a stellar season as long as he stays healthy. And I seen somebody make a comment on last show. I don't know who it was, but he was saying like, well, we supposed to be excited because Chase Young going up against this offensive line. He going up against this offensive line. They're not very good. Well, I say this, man. The dude had 7.5 sacks with a partially broken neck. So I don't know what the heck y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what the heck anybody is not getting excited about a guy who was dealing with a neck injury, a neck stinger, right? A neck stinger, neck injury, partially broken neck. And this man had 7.5 sacks and he played in 16 games for 2 different teams. And if you count like the fact that he actually played in the playoffs for the 49ers, like he played nearly 20 games last season. So why wouldn't you want to get excited about a guy like that? I don't know, man. You know, I'm excited about what I'm seeing. I'm excited about what I'm seeing from this dude. So I'll take a few more, then I get up out of here. TJ racism, Chiefs associated with Native American Cowboys, Caucasian. Whitey wins again. Saints religion don't talk religion, so Cowboys get all the glory. Well, look, I don't know if it's that philosophical. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if we got to go all Socrates up in this joint, but I do feel like, I don't know if it has to do with that. I feel like it has to do with nostalgia. Look, anybody that's ever been in TV or broadcasting, it's about numbers. That's all the sponsorship partners care about. They care about numbers. If you're doing a podcast, anybody asks me, here's a little learned lesson for all those out there that's doing podcasting. TJ, how do you get these sponsors to sponsor you, man? How you be doing this? Bruh, if I reach out to these people like, man, I got this podcast, State of the Saints. I've been doing it for blah, blah, blah since, I guess, like 2018. The first thing that come out there, they say, like, what's your audience? How many people you view? You know, how many downloads you get? Like, they want what you call a ROI. They want a return on investment. These sponsorship partners, they don't mind writing out the check if the check that comes back to them is bigger than the one they wrote out. And they know that by talking about the Cowboys, people hate them. They are the Floyd Mayweather of the NFL. Floyd Mayweather, people love him, people hate him, but people gonna watch him. They're going to watch him for 2 reasons. They're going to watch him to see him win, or they're going to watch him try to get his head knocked off because that's what they want to see. Thus, the Cowboys. Ask yourself this question. Why is it that you know after your favorite team, which is the Saints, if you're here, the majority of you, why is it that after the Saints, the majority of the people on the roster that you know are teams like the Cowboys, teams like the Eagles? Like, I can actually blurt off the Eagles roster just like I can blurt off the Saints roster and the Cowboys. And I'm talking about players that's not even in a starting rotation. So why is that? It's because that's what they push. But you have to do more homework if you're talking about the Browns. More homework if you're talking about the Jaguars. More homework if you're talking about the Seahawks. I'm telling you, like, I'm doing this 32 teams in 32 days thing on Gumbo Pot, and I'm telling you, like, there are teams where I know I'm going to talk about them that day. I do no research. I don't have to. Like, I can just talk about them the way that I'm talking about you, talking to you right now when it comes to the Saints. Right now. Like, so, I mean, and why is that? It's not the fact that I just be going out there looking for it. Just comes across the timeline. It's rather you're at the gym and, you know what I'm saying, the TV is on and they on TV. It's like, how can you escape it? But it's about ratings, people. It's about popping a number. That's what this is about. I really feel our starters need to play majority of the first 2 preseason games. We can't afford to start slow. We have 3 tough games to start. Well, look, you got to be very cautious about this. I do feel like, look, in this regard, Alfred, I do agree with you because this is a new offense. And the more reps that you actually get, you know, the better. So I do feel like, yeah, they probably need to have an uptick of, offensive plays for their starters. I ain't saying they're supposed to play every game. Like, don't do that. But, yeah, just enough for them to be able to put something on film against the opposition. We're 9 days away from the first preseason game. Yeah, that should be exciting. he was clowning in that Super Bowl. He hit like Sean Taylor from the former Washington Redskins. Yeah, I mean, Chase Young had 2 sacks in that Super Bowl. We definitely getting a Super Bowl. You must mean by like they're like, yeah, we definitely getting a Super Bowl because the Super Bowl is in New Orleans this year. So yeah, you're right about that. Chase Young still has gas left in the tank. Like and share. Yeah, I think that he's talented. I don't think anything happened. Like, I think people will talk about like, his injury, but like even if a player has like a stinger, I don't think like, do y'all know what a stinger is? I know like when we talk about neck stingers, but I want people to understand like what this is. Let me put this into perspective, right? Let me, get my orthopedic surgeon on. You know what I'm saying? Shouts out to Dr. Jesse Moyes. All right, so a stinger is okay. You have your neck, right, and you got you got your neck and you got your ligaments inside of your neck, right? And these niggas, like, just think about basically running a cord across the wall, right? Y'all ever did anything like that? Like, like you put the cord and you'll run it like across like the corners of your room. So imagine that's like your ligaments, right? And they basically like kind of sit flush. If let's just say, for example, you're a defensive lineman. You're pushing somebody with your hand. You're pushing an offensive lineman, and he goes up against your head, right? And he snaps your head like this way, and you know what I'm saying? Your arm go the opposite way. Basically, it's like taking that cord and pulling it with force and yanking it, right? So with that, it comes out, right? The ligaments kind of get exposed. So when they do get those stingers, it's like they lose feelings in their hands. They can lose like feeling in their fingers. And sometimes like that feeling can come back right away. Like instantly, right? But then there are times like if a guy, think about this, these dudes lifting 400 and 500 pounds, like more than one time. And this man is like pushing you in the head with force and you trying to push on him to push him back against his will. And you know what I'm saying, your neck going in one direction, your arm going in another direction, you know what I'm saying, that causes the stinger. And like I said, the ligaments in between like the neck, can, move out of place. And it's almost like having a short in a I guess like an extension cord, right? You know what I'm saying? So it takes some time. So that's why some guys, if they have neck stingers, they'll probably be out for like 5 weeks. Then you have other guys, they'll probably come back the next week. Like it ain't no telling, like it took me some time to like really think about like, man, I'm always hearing about neck stingers and we get upset about that. But I think a lot of times because we don't know what things are and the severity of them, we kind of like just kind of roll our eyes about the situation and be like, man, neck stinger. But man, just imagine, like, I'm just saying, like, I mean, you have your spinal column, you know what I'm saying? You got your neck. And you know what I'm saying? You got some ligaments inside of it, man. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's going in a different direction. Like ligaments getting out the, like, no, ugh. You know what I'm saying? That's hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of y'all ready to go to the doctor when you got that crick in your neck. You know, when you wake up in the morning, you slept wrong. Then you wake up, oh. You know what I'm saying? Ready for, they call what they say, go home to bright glory, as they say, right? But these dudes, like, man, that's a serious injury. That's a serious injury. Those are injuries, like, sometimes, like, they can be so severe, like, dudes can, like, literally, like, lose feelings, like, in their arms, lose feeling in their legs. Like, it's serious, man. Let's see. That's all they talk about every day is the cowgirls. Well, like I said, they're trying to move the needle here. I often wonder what's the difference of getting hurt in preseason versus week one. If you're going to get hurt, you're getting hurt anyway. They need reps. It'll be the same blow. It's because, Fred, at the same time, like, I feel like people feel like week one is I don't call it real. It means more than a preseason game in a grand scheme of things. Preseason is an exhibition, right? So if you're a starter, you playing for a team, what are you actually playing for, right? What are you playing for? You playing like just to be out there. Like, it's not going to change your position. It's not going to change. Like if you're the starting wide receiver, if you're Chris Olave, like what can you do in preseason that you couldn't do in a regular season? I guess that's how people are looking at it. And it's more understandable if you get hurt week 1 of the regular season than it is the preseason, especially if everybody knows what you're capable of. If you go for 1,123 yards and 5 touchdowns in one season like Chris Olave did, what are you actually out there for? Like, I understand we want to see these guys, but it's not to a point where I just desperately need to see Chris Olave. I don't. I know what Chris Olave is for the Saints. And honestly, I would rather see what he has in week 1 than week 1 of preseason. Like, I'd rather in a regular season game. But I think it's more understandable to fans. Like, if Chris Olave was to get hurt in week 1 of preseason and he's out for 8 to 9 weeks, like the backlash and the anger that people would have. And I ain't trying to hear, man, well, it's just football. Nah. We already ready. We already got, like, the pitchfork is not in our hand, but it's propped up against the corner in the back of the room. And we ready to pick it up at any time because we ready to walk down to Poetry Street and tell everybody that Dennis Allen needs to be fired, right? Like the pitchfork at the wall. So imagine if a player like Chris Olave, the caliber of Chris Olave, gets hurt in the first game of preseason. Y'all know y'all gonna be ready. I'm talking about long-time listener, first-time caller. Man, we need to fire Dennis Allen. How can he do something so egregious? That's negligence of the highest order. And like, it's just the truth. Y'all know Saints fans gonna be ready to turn something over. So I don't know, man. I mean, it's a difference, whether you want to admit it or not. Like I do agree with what you're saying, but it sounds good, but from an emotional standpoint, it's almost like saying, man, I'm tired of this guy. I'm tired of this girl. I'm about to leave her. Like, it sounds like the right thing to do at the time, but then you start thinking about, like, okay, man, it sounds, you know what I'm saying? It's like, but am I going to do it? It sounds like the right thing to do to have these dudes out here for preseason, and if they get hurt, they get hurt. But if they really get hurt, like, how would that make me feel? It's not going to feel the same way as they were to get hurt in the regular season. It just wouldn't. Do you podcast the Pelicans too, or just the Saints? I just do the Saints. I just do the Saints, man. I'm about as casual as a shirt and tie when it comes to basketball. I'm serious. Like, I know what's going on to a certain extent, but I am not the biggest basketball fan. You know, I can talk about it, like if I sit down and like just kind of took a look at it, but not to a point where I would want to do that every day. Nah, I couldn't see it. These strength and conditioning coaches need to do something different with these dudes. I don't know what more you can do. I don't know what more you can do. I mean, call Tom Brady and teach him the art of pliability. I don't know. You know, say get a yoga instructor up in there or something like that. You know, call the Zen master Phil Jackson up in there, get the feng shui right. I mean, I don't know. Injuries are going to happen. Injuries are going to happen in the NFL. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you stretch your body to a point you can be Stretch Armstrong. Like, injuries are going to occur. It's just going to occur. That's just the way that it happens. Like, it is a sport with 100% injury rate. That's the reason why we praise guys who have played in the league and don't miss so many games. Like, you're going to get hurt. It's just a matter of when, and it's just a matter of how severe that injury will be. I'm going to take a few more, then I got to go ahead and get up out of here, folks. And if AK run for 200 yards in a preseason game, who really cares? Nope. I mean, by the beginning of the season, you didn't forgot about that. Like, nobody, like, it. I feel like when people like I'm not saying everybody, but I feel like when people get mad, they don't see starters in preseason. I feel like it's kind of coming from a selfish place. But like, why would you want to see like those starter for three quarters for a game in the grand scheme that doesn't really matter when it comes to records, what you're going to look like in a regular season, the playoffs not on the line. Like, I get it, man. You want to see these dudes play, but I can wait till the regular season. But I do feel like I do agree that they need to be out there a little bit more than they would normally because this is a new offense. TJ, some of us haven't learned from the situation where Sean Payton left Mike T in the game when he shouldn't have been in there. You got to make sure the guys aren't exposed to unnecessary contact. Yep, and that was friendly fire. Latavius Murray ran over his ankle. Ran on the back of his ankle. Let's see. I want to see all the rookies to see what we have. Yeah, I mean, look, I can understand the rookies. Like, yeah, you got to go out there and get it, man. Get those nerves out. You know what I'm saying? Get those butterflies out your stomach. Go out there and do that. And you got other guys that are, late round picks. They need to have something to prove. But at the end of the day, it's like, man, I ain't trying to see Talese Fuaga out there all game. I'm not. If that guy goes down, then we really gonna be having something like a real bad conversation. So that's just the way that I look at it. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Once again, I'm asking everybody to subscribe to the channel, please. Pretty please hit the like button. Help the State of the Saints podcast to grow. And I'm also asking you to subscribe to the Gumbo Pot Sports podcast that is available. We're doing a series right now, 32 teams in 32 days. Probably going to be, ain't no probably. We're going to be going live on the Gumbo Pot tonight, talking a little bit about preseason game one, the Hall of Fame game, Bears versus Texans. Will we see Caleb Williams? Will we see CJ Stroud? Who knows? We'll see, but we'll be talking about that. And if you have any questions or anything like that, that's sports related, make sure that you bring them over there to the Gumbo Pot, youtube.com, search Gumbo Pot Sports Podcast. You can follow me on X at TJAY Jones 8. Previous episodes available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Anchor FM. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.